Good day everyone. Today we are going to study about corrosion, which is a very important part in class 12 chemistry, electrochemistry, which is chapter 2. Let us start with the definition. So it is an electrochemical process in which a metal is oxidized or other salt of the metal by using electrons to oxygen or other electronegative elements and forms a coating on the metal surface. So the rusting of iron and the on the silver surface of copper or bronze turning green are some of the examples of this. Rusting occurs in the presence of water and air. It is a kind of corrosion. So the place of iron object where rusting takes place acts as anode. This is the place at which oxidation occurs and iron oxide is formed. Now let us study the factors affecting this. First factor is the resistivity of the metal. That is, more reactive the metal is, more will be the rusting. Next is the presence of impurities. That is, metal having impurities have more chances to get rusted than pure metal. Next is air and moisture. So the presence of moisture and air can easily cause this rusting. So the presence of gases like SO2, CO2, NO2 in the air accelerate the process of rusting. So if the metal is placed in vacuum, then there will be no rusting happen. So air and moisture are very important factors which affect rusting. Next is the strains in the metal. That is, rusting can occur more easily at strains or scratches present on the metal. Next is the presence of electrolyte. That is, the presence of electrolyte can make the corrosion process faster. For example, if iron is placed in sea water, then it will rust more rapidly than the iron placed in pure water. Next, we'll study the mechanism of this. So the electrons will release at the anodic spot and move through the other metal and go to another spot on the metal and reduce the oxygen in the presence of H+, which is believed to be available from H2CO3 formed due to the carbon dioxide from air into water. So the spot behaves as cathode. So the reactions at anode are as follows, and the reaction as cathode is written as like this. So by adding these two, the overall reaction will be like this, because we will strike out the electrons, and after that we get the final reaction to be as follows, with the E cell to be 1.67 volt. This is the mechanism of rusting of iron in the atmosphere. So the ferrous ions obtained are further oxidized by atmospheric oxygen to ferric oxide, which is Fe2O3 dot XH2O, and with further production of H+ ions. So the prevention of this not only will save money but also helps in preventing accidents like bridge collapse or failure of a key component. It causes enormous damage to buildings, bridges, ships, and to all the objects made of metals, especially that of iron. We lose a lot of rupees every year on account of this rusting, so prevention is very important. Some of the methods of prevention, that is, the first one is the protective layer method. So here in this method, the coating of the surface of the metal is done to prevent it from coming in contact with the atmosphere or the moisture. So this can be done like the surface coating we can paint with some non-rusting paint, oil or grease, which can prevent the rusting. And electroplating is also used for the protection of this metal from the moisture resistivity, so that there will be no plating formed on this metal. The next is the sacrificial protection. So in this method, the coating of the more reactive metal on the less reactive metal is done. So here a more reactive metal will be coated on the less reactive metal. So the more reactive metal will lose its electrons or oxidizes and protects the less reactive metal in its which is inside, thereby sacrificing itself to protect the inner metal. So this phenomenon of coating of zinc metal on the surface of iron is called galvanization. So being more electropositive, zinc acts as anode instead of iron and undergoes the reaction due to its high standard reduction potential. Next is the cathodic protection of iron. So in this method, the exposed surface of iron is attached to a more reactive metal like magnesium by connecting them with a wire. So the more reactive metal acts as anode and the iron acts as a cathode. So the reaction at anode will be Mg will become Mg2 plus 2 electrons, while the reaction at cathode will be Fe2 plus 2 electrons will give rise to Fe, which is in solid state. So the overall reaction will be Mg plus Fe2 plus will give rise to Mg2 plus Fe, where we will strike out the 2 electrons. So next method is the anti-rust solution. So the alkaline solutions of some phosphate and chromate salts are used as anti-rust solutions. So the iron particles are dipped into the boiling anti-rust solution. So we'll prepare one anti-rust solution into which we will dip the iron, and then it will form a protective layer on this iron and thus protects these articles from rusting. Next we'll study about hydrogen economy. So nowadays development and economy of country depends upon the consumption of energy. So people, for the sake of improvement in their lifestyles, increases the requirement of energy. So at present the main source of energy is fossil fuels like coal, oil, gas, petrol and everything. So with increase in energy consumptions, the reservoirs of fossil fuels are getting exhausted very rapidly at a quicker rate. So also the carbon dioxide produced during the combustion of the fossil fuels results in the greenhouse effect. So the temperature is increasing on the atmosphere, and therefore the use of these fuels should be avoided or minimized as much as possible. So hydrogen economy is an ideal alternative. This vision includes the use of hydrogen as a renewable and non-pollutant source of energy. It can be used in both production by electrolysis of water using solar energy as well as in the fuel cell, which we already studied, that will give the input of H2 and O2 to produce H2O and the energy will be released. So also the technologies are truly based on electrochemical principles. So we've completed the rusting part. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more updates.